Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Happy start of Falgun. Today is the final month of the start of the final month of the Eastern calendar. And so Swamiji started us off with a line from Baramaha, which is Falgun आनंद उपार्जना हर सज्जन प्रगटे आए संत सहाय राम के कर कृपा दिया मिलाए सेज सुहावी सर्ब सुख हुण दुखा नाही जाए इच्छ पुनि वड भागुनी वर पाया हर राय. Actually, I would really recommend for those that can read Bani, read Bada Maha and count how many times they tell you to go to a sant. You know, sometimes because I already believe it, right? You don't need to convince me. But sometimes when I'm trying to tell people, you know, why things are important, sometimes I just get a little bit, I hate to say it, but a little bored because, I mean, I'm already convinced. I'll put in an effort to convince you, but after a while, it's just, you know, the same thing over and over. But you know who doesn't get bored of saying it? Every time I read a Bani, it's there over and over and over and over again. They say it so much, and it's so ironic that the things they say so much are the things that are so often ignored when we're practicing being a Gursikh. Anyways, Falgun Anand Uparjana Har Sajjan Pragate Aaye. They're saying in the culmination of the year, right? The Sikh has practiced, all the other months we're practicing the ups and downs, figuring out how to do what we needed to do. And now the final thing has happened. Final month, final result, which was that the seeker became enlightened. Falgun Anand Uparjana Har Sajjan Pragate Aaye. That Sajjan, that Vaheguru has revealed himself to me, and I am full, completely. Not even full, I've become bliss myself. How did this happen? Sant Sahai Ram ke kar kripa diya milai. That it was with the grace of the saints, which the other months told me to go to. Right? All the other months, if you read them, most of them are go find a saint. In this month, wash their feet. In this month, sing with them. In this month, find the sant. They'll go through things like that. And now they're saying Sant Sahai Ram ke kar kripa diya milai. And because I followed the direction you gave me in the other months, I found the saint, I followed what they wanted me to do, and with their grace, I've become one with God. So, happy Falgun. I hope that what Guru Maharaj is saying happens in Falgun happens to us as well. So let's go on to Sidh Gosht. Sidh Gosht opens up today with a very unique and interesting allegory. Guru Maharaj is using a very interesting allegory to describe what a Gurmukh is like. And they start off with Gurmukh bandhyo set vidhata lanka luti daita santape. So if you know the story of Ramchandra Ji and how they built a bridge to go from the Indian continent, current day Bharat continent, to the modern day Sri Lankan continent, there's ocean there. So they have to build the bridge to cross over. And they built this so that they could conquer Ravan, who was known to be the king of Lanka. Vibhishan, I'm just going to give you a general overview. Vibhishan, or the way that it's said in Gurbani, Bipikhana, was the brother of Ravan. Ravan ka bhai tha na Swamiji? Vibhishan, but he was a good guy. And he considered Ramchandra to be his Isht. He knew the secrets of how to kill Ravan because he was very difficult to kill. And so this allegory here is going to describe how that is in terms of a Gurmukh. A Gurmukh is someone who builds a bridge to cross over this world ocean. In this example, the Gurmukh is Ramchandra Ji. And making that bridge is Brahma Vichar and all of the sadhana that you're doing. We have to get to Lanka. We have to get to our final destination, cross the ocean. You are a Gurmukh, just like Ramchandra Ji, and you're building a bridge to get there. The bridge that you're using to go beyond this thing that we're seeing all over is Brahma Vichar, contemplation of the truth, contemplation of reality. Brahm actually means something that's pervading. Amongst all of this noise, there's actually a silence behind it. Amongst all of this movement, there's a stillness interwoven into it. Amongst everything that you're seeing and experiencing, there's actually a fundamental truth and reality there. If everything here changes, something here is not changing. We have to find that. That's contemplation of the truth. That's Brahma Vichar. Lanka luti daita santape. Lanka luti means to win. Lanka. And daita santape means to kill off the army of Ravan, right? The other devilish army, to kill it off. Basically, this is the story of how Gyan wins Agyan, how experiential knowledge conquers ignorance. So Lanka is avidya. You've won avidya, meaning you've conquered it. Daita santape. And there's certain devils that you have to conquer. Even while you're building the bridge and while you're doing contemplation of the truth, even if you get to the other side, there's things you have to conquer still. One is your primal ignorance. And then there's a couple of devils that you have to overcome. I'm going to give you some new words so that it really kind of sets into what we're talking about. 5 of these devils are called the main distractors. They're going to distract you. And these are the 5 vishas, right? The target of your senses, the 5 primal targets of your senses, which is form, sound, taste, texture. What else did I miss? Worm, shabad, spice, root, what did I miss? Oh, scent. I know, like, is scent really that distracting? I feel like it's the easiest one to get over out of the 5. Anyways, it might not be, I don't know. Each their own. These 5 devils are the distractors. They're gonna distract you. And then there's the 5 overwhelmers. These guys are gonna overwhelm you. What are these? These are the 5 vikars. Vikar means change. And when 5 vikars happen to your brain, actually there's more than 5, but these 5 really overwhelm you when they take over. The 5 vikar we call Kam, ambition, Krodh, anger, Lobh, greed, Moh, attachment, and ego, Ahankar. These really overwhelm your state. Think about it. You're in Brahma Vichar, everything is going great, and all of a sudden some ambition kicks in, and you can't lose it. It is so overwhelming, you can't lose it. Or Moh, right? Attachment to something. When everything's okay, it doesn't feel like you have attachments. When you start losing things, and then it's like, oh, my attachment is strong. And you're doing Brahma Vichar, and now all of a sudden you're overwhelmed with Moh, or you're overwhelmed with anger. Something goes not the way that you wanted. You're doing Brahma Vichar, everything is great, and then anger just overwhelms you as if you're not even able to really control it. So these are the 5 overwhelmers. And then you have the 5 agitators. These are the ones that are agitating you, irritating you every step of the way. And these are the 5 kalesh, right? Ignorance, asmita. Asmita means that you keep thinking that your mind is Atma. You keep thinking that your mind is the final consciousness. Asmita means to understand yourself to be the mind. This keeps bothering you. Then you have Rag, Dvesh. You like certain things, you don't like other things, whether you're morally making these preferences, or maybe you're making these preferences based on what society is telling you, or based on your own previous karma. You're judging things not in a neutral, you're not seeing things neutrally, you're seeing things as preferables and non-preferables for yourself. And then Abhinivesh, to keep your preferables and to get rid of your non-preferables. You want, if that's not happening, there's worry and anxiety being produced. Anxiety for, am I going to get what I want? And is what I don't want going to stay away from me? Or will I not get what I want? And what I don't want, will it come to me? These are anxieties of the future, traumas of the past, and ultimately anxiety that one day this is all going to be finished. How do I complete everything that I want to do within my lifespan? Or how do I figure out a way to live longer and try to be immortal, right? All of the things that we do in our life, whether it's anti-aging, whether it's, I don't know, whatever we do, is to continuously stay younger and younger for as long as possible. So these agitators, this fear of the future or fear of what's going to happen to you, this is one of the 5 primal agitators. These 15 devils have to be overcome. That is santapa. A Gurumukh overcomes these 15 agitators, or sorry, the 5 distractors, 5 overwhelmers, and 5 agitators. These 15 devils a Gurmukh overcomes when they go to Lanka. Ramchandra Mario Ravan. Ramchandra ji killed off Ravan. And Ravan here represents your ego. The final devil that you're going to come across is going to be your me. And I'm sure some of you have experienced this in your own meditations. You can feel that you are the obstacle. Your meditations, you're wanting to expand out and break. You can feel this urge inside of you to just break and expand. You can feel this urge to completely let go and drown in ecstasy. You feel this urge. But you yourself become the obstacle for that to happen. And you really feel at that point, I wish I wasn't here. This me is your ultimately final obstacle. And that ego is Ravan. Ramchand, if you think about what the word means, the enlightened mind, or the mind that carries the teachings of the enlightened one. Ram Chand. Chand meaning light, moonlight. Ram meaning essence of reality. The mind that is carrying the light of reality is able to conquer Ahiravan, the final and ultimate me, this ego, the very fundamental ego that you're carrying, has killed off Ravan. The enlightened mind has killed off Ravan. Ramchandra Mario Ahiravan. But how does the ego die? How does this, you have this urge to expand, you have this urge to be ecstasy. But the me, you continuously become an obstacle. How does this part die? See, if we do Simran, there's an ego, because who's doing the Simran? I'm doing the Simran. If we do Seva, if we do charity, if we do sadhana, jap, tap, whatever, there's always this very subconscious thought that I'm doing this. I did the Seva. Sure, you know what? I'm not going to be prideful about it. Great, I won't be prideful. God made me do it, so I say. It's easy to say God made me do it, right? So I say. And you don't even have to be prideful. You don't have to tell anyone that this is how much Simran you did. You don't have to tell anyone how much charity you gave. You don't tell anyone. That shallow type of ego you've overcome, the prideful type. But this very subtle, subconscious layer that says you did it. I did the Simran. And I'm not even saying in a boastful way. Just the fact that you think you did it in a most neutral way. This morning, look how you say it. This morning, with God's grace, I was able to do an hour of Simran. With God's grace, God gave me the capacity to give $1,000 in charity. But in all of these sentences, even though their prefixes are God's grace, there's always this subtle thing right there that you did it. This one is difficult to overcome. And the way to overcome it is to lose doerness. Ultimately, doerness is lost after enlightenment, but to continuously contemplate that I am not the doer, this happens in, what's the third one? Sattva, nahi, Tanumansa. First you listened, then you contemplated, then the contemplation became practical. So when the contemplation is practical, then you can have glimpses of losing doerness. There is a natural trajectory, a pre-planned trajectory that is happening. I am here merely watching. That's why consciousness-based meditations are powerful in establishing distance. How are you going to understand that you're not a doer? If there is some distance between the doing and the watching. Have you noticed when you watch something, there is no doing? In the watcher, there is no doership. It is merely watching something happening. So if you're watching, if you have enough distance from your body,
someone is doing,
I watch. Someone is doing, and I'm sitting on a hill, far away, just watching. My hands are doing things. My speech is doing things. My mind is doing something. It's accumulating information. It's consolidating that information. It's reverberating it out. They're doing things. I am far away watching. This type of distancing you need in order for you not to have doership. The way that you conquer ego is you step off of it and you go to a place that cannot hold ego, where you're just watching and it's not affecting you. Things will still happen. You might wonder, if I'm just watching, how am I going to be able to do things? Brahm has always been here and you've been fine at doing things. This trajectory is going to be completely fine even without your presence. Things will happen, but you will know that they're happening at a distance. And when that distance becomes drid means it becomes crystallized. You're not constantly trying to make the distance has become permanent. That's what we call full enlightenment, and we'll talk about that a little later. How does the ego die? Using the enlightened mind. Enlightened mind meaning something that has created enough distance and now realizes that reality merely watches. It is a fundamental on which the holographic movie is playing on top of. It is not involved in the movie, it is merely giving existence to the movie. Right, so Ramchand Mario Ahiravan, the enlightened mind killed off that final obstacle. Individuality has been killed off. How did it get killed off? Vibhishan was Ravan's brother, and he knew all of the tips and tricks that Ravan did to become a very powerful warrior. Vibhishan was the one that revealed to Ramchandra how you kill off Ravan. Basically, Ramchandra kept on hitting Ravan's head, his neck, trying to kill him off. But he would never end up dying this way because he had a lot of life-giving energy in his navel. Call it Amrit, call it some type of immortality. It wasn't letting him be killed off. But Vibhishan knew that it's at his navel where he's accumulating and producing all of the energy that is letting him live. Hey Ramchandraji, if you hit a fire arrow right at his navel, you can dry up that energy, and therefore he won't be able to survive for much longer. So Vibhishan tells Ramchandra to hit with the fire arrow at his navel, and Ravan will be dead. Vibhishan reveals the mystery. Vibhishan, the enlightened Gurmukh, reveals the mystery on how to finally kill off Ravan. And that final mystery is that Atma, you are Ram, not the boundary, and Ram is you. The one you've been searching for this entire time is you. And Satsangaji, even though this is the absolute final statement. It is the absolute truth of the cosmos. Only a very translucent mind can really pick this up. In the spiritual world, intelligence is not really gauged by how much you can memorize or how much you can understand, but how much you can grasp. You know, sometimes you understand something and you didn't even have to say a word. Your mind didn't have to think about it or get it, try to understand it using logic or words, but you just got it. This type of grasping ability to really figure out the target of the words that the person is saying, this is Ritambra Buddhi. It has nothing to do with how intelligent you are, how much you know, how much you can memorize, how good your words are. This picking up ability is something that comes with divine grace. And that's what, when someone says you are Ram and Ram is you, not to think about it, not to contemplate it, but to just pick it up and get it. Right? That's the final secret is revealed, and then this becomes you. You switch identity from the body-mind level to the one behind the mind. Vibhishan reveals the secret, which is that Atma, you are Ram, and Ram is you, and that the Jeev is not the doer. Leave the doerness behind. Let the natural life trajectories work. You are completely emancipated forever. You have always been eternally emancipated. You are free. And what happens when a Gurumukh becomes enlightened? The Gurumukh has the ability to melt your rock-likeness. You know, you're sitting here, and there's certain things inside of you that are just hard. They're just really, they're set in stone. Some parts of you may not realize which parts, but maybe due to morality, maybe due to dharmic influence, maybe due to societal influence, religious influence. There's some parts of you that are just so rock-like, and they don't move, they don't melt. You're so set in your way. This rock-like being has to melt. This melting is what bhakti is for. If anything within you is still hard, it has to melt. If any of your opinions about what's right and wrong are so strong, they have to melt away. You have to become a nothingness in order for final enlightenment to happen. And I'll tell you something. Here's a secret to really going beyond any type of stone-like thing. If it's happening, that means even God didn't deny it. You might have an opinion on what's right and wrong, and some of those opinions are helpful at the beginning of your journey, but the final stage, who are you to judge what should have happened and what shouldn't have happened and what's actually right and what's actually wrong when even God has not denied it from happening? When even God has not denied its presence and God is fully letting it happen. The fact that it has happened or is happening or is in the process of happening means that it has not been denied. God, being present everywhere, has not even denied Maya. Have you realized? Eka Mai Jukta Vyayat in Jemi Praman. But God did not deny Maya. God allowed it. So then who are you to come with your measly little mind, teeny tiny little mind, and say, this is right, this is wrong. Oh, this is morally absolutely incorrect according to your particular culture. Go to another culture and it's not morally incorrect all of a sudden. Something that is not incorrect across the board, something that is not correct across the board, means that it cannot be incorrect or correct within your measly little bubble. So these internal opinions, these rock-like areas of you, they need to melt away, because even God has not denied what is all. If it's happening already, it's already happening. What's to say the wrong and right part of it? Gurmukh Sayed Pahanatare. The Gurmukh is able to help you. First of all, they themselves have melted all of their rock-like areas. They've completely melted away. They're completely okay with what's happening. They realize it's a play, and then they help others who are rocks melt and go across, be saved. The Gurmukh helps. Inside of you, not only are there rocks, but there's a lot of sleepishness. There's a lot of sleep, a lot of inert things, a lot of inertia within you. And you're not as alive as you should be or as you could be. A Gurmukh helps you transcend that as well, to become alive. And really, if you think about it, it's your rocks that are causing you to put on so much unnecessary weight that you just don't feel alive and vibrant and bouncy and light anymore, because of your own rocks. So what happens? These rocks are due to Tamogun and Rajogun. Big rock, this big rock right here. These rocks, these sleepishness, this is due to a higher ratio of Tamogun and Rajogun in your system. Right, Rajogun and Tamogun is produced by how you eat, but it's also produced by your mental patterns of, see, when something happens, you have the ability to figure out what's happening. If your mental pattern always ends up seeing the negative side, it's going to end up producing more Rajo and Tamogun. But if your mental pattern, even in the worst of situations, ends up taking the positive side, you're going to end up having more Sattvagun. You're producing more Sattvagun. Right? So the spiritual pathway is to see the glass half full and not to see it half empty. So there's this, if you've ever noticed, when we say you have more Tamogun and Rajogun, we're essentially saying very two opposite things. Tamogun means inertia, lack of movement. Rajogun means movement. And we're thinking we got both of these things. Why is it that these two opposites, seemingly opposite things, are the ones that are affecting us? The type of movement you have right now is very opaque. It's very non-clear movement. Let's say you have an ambition in life and you're going for it. Your ultimate ambition is 2 kids, a beautiful wife or a beautiful husband, whoever you are, a 4-bedroom house, mortgage paid off, 3 cars necessary. One of them has to be a Tesla. Living on a nice sunny area in the world with at least 500,000 extra dollars for health, good food, whatever. This is your ambition. But even though you're moving towards this ambition, it's a very unclear, non-clear ambition. Because even if you get there, you're not going to feel what you wanted to feel when you made this ambition. You did this, you made this whole story for yourself because you wanted to feel relaxed. Now I'm at peace and nothing is bothering me. There's nothing left for me to do. I've reached my most peaceful, relaxed state when this happens. This thing that you're thinking that it's going to be your most peaceful, relaxed state, that's an illusion. Because even people who have more than that are not relaxed. You know what happens when you have everything that you want? People say, I'm bored. I'm unsatisfied. Like I should be doing something. Why are the most rich people in the world still doing things? Because it doesn't stop just because you get this relaxed, peaceful, and now I've got nothing to do. You will always have something to do because there's going to be someone that you can compare yourself to, the next stage. Because then you're going to say, well, then I need to have enough houses for all my children. Oh, then, I should have a little bit more. My friend is in, 5 of my friends are now millionaires. And now I have to have, I want to match my status to them, 500,000 extra. That's not enough. I need to have at least 15 million. That's a good curveball point. It's never going to stop. So even though you're moving, you have Rajagun, your targets are very unclear. There's a lot of Tamogun present in your ambition. There's a lot of sleepishness, grogginess, non-clarity in your movement. That's why we say you have so much Tamogun and Rajagun. Now, in today's day, there's circumstances where a person doesn't even have ambition anymore because the Tamogun is so high. Even the movement is not happening. Now you're just dreaming about it. You're not able to put all of your energy into it. Now you're just sad. Oh, I thought my life was going to be like this. It's not. Now I'm sad. But you don't even have enough ambition to even pursue it. Because Tamogun has increased in the recent, I would say, 50 years. So this is the type of stuff that is going to make it more difficult for you to have enlightenment. What we want in our system is more Sattvagun. How do you increase your Sattvagun? First of all, stop making impossible goals for yourself. Number one, delete everything out of your life that makes you compare yourself to someone. I'm so serious about this. If you're a seeker, you really need to get rid of everything in your life that makes you compare yourself. Whether you're comparing yourself to a friend, to someone who you look up to, even comparing yourself to another saint, or comparing yourself to a celebrity, compare any type of comparison that is making you feel less fulfilled in what you already have, it has to go. If that means getting rid of all of your social media, that means getting rid of all of your social media. If that means not watching any type of video or reading any type of news that is going to make you think, oh, wow, that person has so much, I don't have this much, da-da-da-da-da, that has to go. This is the number one obstacle for you in today's age. It was already an obstacle in the past ages, but it didn't hurt them as much because there's not much revenue of information. Now there's a lot of information and a lot more comparison. This is hurting you the most because out of that comparison, you are making unattainable goals. And when a goal is so unattainable, you're going to feel more and more frustrated, more and more inferior, more and more unsatisfied with life. And that is the complete opposite of how to feel good in this life and how to live. You only have a couple of years, right? 80 or so years. You can either have a really miserable existence, or you can have one that you, at the end of life, that you said, you know what, I did good. I felt really good. I'm so satisfied. Because this idea that, okay, I want this and now I'm going to go after it. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it. This idea, it might not happen in this lifetime. And you're just going to end up with this thought that one day I'm going to get it. One day I'm going to get it. One day I'm going to get it. And then you're going to get old and wrinkly and die. And this thought is going to carry on to the next body. And then it's going to start up there again. One day I'm going to get it. One day I'm going to get it. I have hope. One day I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. But this Maya, it doesn't work that way. So if you're smart, if you're a genius, you come to the realm of satisfaction and you say, what I have is a lot more than what I actually need. What I have is a lot more than many millions have. And I'm very thankful for everything that I have. I have a lot of gratitude for it, and I'm very content in it. And this is going to happen when you start to see yourself and stop seeing yourself in other people. Stop seeing yourself as a thing for comparison, but just see yourself and see how amazingly wonderful you are just the way you are. So Gurmukh Sair Pahanatari, Gurmukh Kot Tetis Udhari. A Gurmukh with their presence with their words, maybe with the way they talk to you, with their eyes, with their mouth. They help many millions, particularly 33, but that just means many, attain salvation as well. Many millions because so many people they make progress towards their ultimate goal of enlightenment. A Gurmukh helps other people take on virtuous qualities like tranquility, peace, compassion, friendliness, love, contentment. So this is how the Gurmukh helps other people as well. Gurmukh chukka avarnajan. We talked about this before. For a Gurmukh who has transcended their mortal identity, they are no longer prone to coming and going. This also actually means they are no longer prone to future and past. Do you know that most of your difficulties, most of your pain is not coming from the present moment, it's coming from a past that you're remembering or a future that you're contemplating or imagining. And a Gurmukh is no longer prone to futures, no longer prone to pasts. They are completely in the present. And this going past, coming and going only happens when you are enlightened while you're embodied. Embodied enlightenment has to happen to you. Embodied nirvana, embodied emancipation. Leaving the body is no guarantee of mukti. Marana mukti kinabai, right? That comes in Gurbani. Who gets enlightened just because of dying and moving on from the body? While you're alive, you have to get emancipation. Swamiji here has talked about mal, vikep, and avaran, which are the three major flaws of the mind. Mal, Swamiji described as pap or sin, but particularly it is referring to all of the incorrect impressions you've collected in your past lives and this life that is creating opacity and rock-likeness in your mind. Vikep refers to activity, too much movement in the mind. And avaran refers to the veiling. You do not know who you actually are. You are misidentifying yourself. These are the three major flaws of the mind, and they're corrected by the incorrect impressions are corrected by doing seva. So your rock-like being has to be destroyed. How does that happen? When you become of service to others, service to your guru. Vikep is reduced in Simran, meditative practice, and avaran goes with giving you correct impressions or gyan. This question, how do I stop the mind? Arjun asks this question to Krishna. Here, I'll read it for you guys. If you're interested in finding out where it is, Swamiji quotes these two lines quite a bit. They're chapter 6, verse 34 and verse 35. Arjun asks, Chanchalam hi manaha Krishna pramati balavadridham. My mind is very restless and it's very haughty. It's very stubborn in its restlessness. Tasyaham nigraham manye vayore visudushkaram. It's like trying to control the wind and have it in the palm of your hand. It's almost impossible. And Krishna answers, Shri Bhagavanu Vache Asanchayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chala. Hey Arjun, without doubt, Asanchayam, the mind is difficult to control. But Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. If you have abhyas, consistently hammering, trying over and over again, and you have vairag, you have a certain level of detachment from the world, then it's possible to control the mind. Meaning, first of all, stop your unattainable goals, your overarching massive goals. I want to look a certain way. I want to have this much money. I want to have this, that, whatever. I want to be married to the most beautiful girl in the world. Are you the most beautiful man in the world? Have you ever thought about that? Is there such thing as perfection? Because you can ask for perfection if you were also perfect, but you're not even perfect. And you can't come to a decision about who you want to be with because asambhav as, impossible expectations. So first, reduce that. Come back to yourself, work on yourself, reduce your desires, come to the realm of contentment. You actually have a lot more than you need, right? Actually, Shandilya, the Bhakti Sutras written by Shandilya. There's 3 major Bhakti Sutras in Sanatan Mat. One of them is written by Shandilya. He says in his sutra that God is not extraordinary. God is most ordinary. And if you realize, those people that have merged with God are so damn ordinary. There is nothing extraordinary left about them. In fact, you can't even tell them apart from the rest of the population. That's how ordinary they've become. Shandilya says God is not extraordinary. God is ordinary. If you have a desire in your heart to be extraordinary, which is just a nice way of saying better than someone else, you are not going to meet God. Look at how God is. He's everywhere, and he doesn't even require you to know it. So ordinary, so much in the simple, the smallest things. Extraordinary means I need big sounds, big visuals to stir something up inside of me. I need it to be loud. I need something dramatic to happen. I need melodrama in my life in order for me to feel something. Ordinary means I can look up at the sky and it fills me up so much. I can look at a cloud moving and that makes me so happy. God is most ordinary, is not extraordinary. So these overarching ambitions that you have, these desires, these are not how to meet God. Come back to yourself, be ordinary, and you'll see that burst of aliveness that you're looking for is going to come from there. It's not going to, actually, why don't you tell me through your own experience, your unattainable goals, have they ever given you peace? Has this really strong ambition of yours actually provided peace for you yet? That's a sign that it's not going to provide it in the future either. So come back. Shandilya says God is most ordinary, not vishisht, not extraordinary. And that's what Krishna is saying. You need to have some level of detachment. That's how you go beyond the mind. Gurumukh dargah paveman. A Gurumukh that has attained the most exalted position is honored everywhere. Is honored in the place that matters, which is the cosmos. Dargah. Okay, there we go. Gurumukh dargah paveman. Gurumukh khote khare pachan. A Gurumukh understands the difference between Satya and Asatya. They have so much drid, vivek, they can see it as it is. Really, what vivek means, the most translucent mind, the one that has no personal opinion, the one that has no personal bias, the most translucent mind can see things exactly the way they are. Not through a filter of morality, not through a filter of bias, not through a filter of societal expectation, not even through the filter of Shastriya expectation. The Shastras say this, therefore this is how it must be. Not through any filter at all, but a translucent mind sees life exactly how it is. This is what it means, kote khare pachan. It knows where the illusion is, where the truth is, and it sees it firsthand, exactly how it is. No filters. Gurumukh lagya sahaj dhyan, and a Gurumukh remains in dhyan, in samadhi, very naturally, no effort. What does this mean? Samadhi happens outside of the mind. It doesn't happen in the mind. It happens when you've crossed the mental layer. The reason for a Gurumukh, this place is very natural to attain, is because the Gurumukh is staying there permanently now. Right now, our permanent place is the mind and the body level. You don't have to tell me, and I don't have to tell you. You just know that you're a body and a mind and all of the identities that are in your mind. No one has to tell you. It's a very natural, sahaj place for you. But for a Gurumukh who has gone beyond the mind, their identity has transcended the body-mind layer, and so their permanent, natural place is in samadhi. In fact, for a Gurumukh to come back into the body-mind layer feels a little bit more difficult now. There is effort in coming back into the body and mind and helping others, right? If you look at a Brahmjani, their most natural state, they want to be alone, they want to be left alone. They don't want to be doing anything because they're in samadhi. But there's a very strong compassion to help others, so they come back into the body-mind level to interact with all of us and help us go beyond. So a Gurumukh switches, and so they're remembering Vaheguru all the time. So this idea of remembering Vaheguru all the time comes up a lot in Gurbani. How does somebody remember Vaheguru all the time? Then I have to ask you this question. Do you remember who you are all the time? Do you ever forget yourself? Or do you always subconsciously know, I am 5 to 6 foot tall, whatever your height is. My name is so-and-so God, so-and-so Singh, flana, flana, whatever. That I am this. That I think I do. And everything that you do, there's I-ness there. Do you ever forget yourself? Your wrong self? You never forget. No one has to consistently remind you, constantly remind you, hey, your name is, let me pick on someone, Amrit Sandhu. Hey, don't forget. Your name is Amrit Sandhu. Hey, don't forget. You are Isha God. Did you forget? You're Isha God. Oh, don't forget, Amardeep Singh, that you're so-and-so height. Don't forget. No one has to remind you. You just always remember you're there. Now take this idea and switch it onto the identity of God, which is beyond the mind. If Brahmgyani resides there, no one has to remind them who they are anymore. They are God. And you don't have to constantly pester them, tell, hey, you're God. Hey, do you remember? You're Satya. Hey, do you remember? You're in a live consciousness. No one has to tell them. They always constantly know. They can't shake it off. This is what it means to remember Vaheguru all the time. Otherwise, if you're in the body-mind complex, it's impossible to remember Vaheguru all the time. Because there's always going to be that base identity that tells you, no, you're the body and the mind. You're this and this person, this and this, whatever. So that's what it really means to remember God all the time. Gurumukh dargah sifta samai. A Gurumukh is always constantly in praise of their own sarup. Everything that they're hearing is constantly reminding them of Vaheguru. Nanak Gurumukh bandha na pai. There's no constriction for a Gurumukh anymore. There is no limiting factor for a Gurumukh. There is no limiting factor for someone who has become limitless. No matter how hard you try, you cannot limit someone who has experienced limitlessness. Gurumukh naam niranjan pai. A Gurumukh has attained the identity of Niranjan, beyond all opacity, beyond all blockage. Niranjan. Anjan means blockage, dirt, incorrect knowing, too much movement. Niranjan means to go beyond that. The Gurumukh has attained the identity of Niranjan. Nam, what really Nam means in certain specific areas, it means your identity. When I want to call you, what do I call you by? How do I identify you? It's through your name. So just like that, a Gurumukh takes on the identity of Niranjan. They've attained the name, the identity of Niranjan. Gurumukh haume sabd jalai. And through the teachings of their own Guru, a Gurumukh has gone beyond haume. They've gone beyond mortal identity. Gurumukh sache ke gun gai. Here Swamiji told the Sakhi of Sananai. The Sakhi goes that one day there was a Bhagat, his name was San. He was the barber and the masseuse for the local king. And every day in the morning, he would go to massage the king, take care of his hygienic things. And he was having a particular a swelling in an area. And so he would put herbs and medication on that area to make him feel better. One day, some saints came over to San's house and they spent all night singing and gone into samadhi to the point that San forgot that he had to go in the morning and do his duty. The next day, San went and he was scared because the king can kill you if you don't. He can fire you, he can kill you. And so San was very scared that today I might lose everything that I have. He goes to the king, and the king is so excited to see him. The king says, San, you're back. San, I want you to give me the same massage you gave me yesterday. Look at my swelling. It's almost gone. It's like this tiny now. What did you do yesterday? The king is so happy. And San's like, King, I didn't even come yesterday. I actually came to apologize that I didn't end up coming yesterday. And the king's like, what are you talking about? I had the best, you gave me the best massage of my life. You almost fixed my problem. I want you to do it again today. And San realizes, I didn't come yesterday, but someone came in my place, looked like me, called himself San, did all the things I did, but hell of a lot better. That was God. Gurmukh Satya ke gun gaye. When you're immersed in God, then God resolves your affairs. If it means he has to even become a qualitative presence, meaning that he has to take on a form in the game, then he has to take on a form in the game. Maybe he has to become a mental presence, then they'll take a mental form. Maybe he has to become some other type of presence to resolve your affairs. Maybe he has to change somebody's mind to resolve your affairs, but it happens. Especially for a Bhagat who is really devoted, who is really melted, the universe resolves their affairs. Gurmukh Satya rahe samay, and a Gurmukh constantly remains in truth. Gurmukh remains in a state where there is non-difference from reality, non-difference with God, or what Swamiji always says, aped means non-difference. Ram Kabira ek paye hai, koi na sake pachani. Kabir says, because communication has a flaw, communication only targets one thing at a time. That's its biggest flaw. And so even though Kabir doesn't want to say it, he's still saying Ram Kabira ek paye hai. Ram and Kabir have become one. But you see the flaw? He still has to call himself Kabir, and he still has to call Ram Ram when they become the same. Ram Kabira ek paye hai, koi na sake pachani, but no one can tell them apart. Tohi mohi mohi tohi antar kaisa. Do you see the flaw in communication? Even though they become one, to say it, you have to say tohi mohi mohi tohi antar kaisa. Gurmukh Sach Naam Pat Uttam Hoy. Sach Naam refers to, we talked about Anhadnad before, or the very primordial vibration that is you can say the signature of existence. There is a shabad that comes in Gurbani that says, Kirtam Naam Kathe Tere Jihba, Sat Naam Tera Para Pulbala. A lot of people think the word Sat Naam is the Anhadnad, the Para Pulbala Naam of God. It is not. The actual sound reverberation Sat Naam is not, because you can say it with your tongue. Read the Shabad. Kirtam Naam Kathe Tere Jehba. If you can say it with your tongue, it's not Sat Naam yet. In fact, what actually Sat Naam is a sound that you do not produce at all, but it is a sound that is happening, always happening, without any two things striking. And that sound is the signature of Brahm, is the signature of existence. And so the Gurmukh is saying they've attained that signature, they've attained that Naam, and they've gotten to the highest, most exalted state that the creation and cosmos provides or has to offer. They've attained the identity of Satya. Nanak Gurmukh Sagal Pavan ki soji hoy. And Guru Nanak Dev Ji is ending off with saying that Gurmukh finally knows everything there is to know. There is nothing left to be known anymore. Brahm is the existence in all, and once it's known, there is nothing left to be known. So Swamiji here ends off with a poem that goes by, I came to the world and saw here and there, only and only you I saw wherever I looked. I came to the world and I looked here and there, only and only you I saw wherever I looked. I love this line. Arj o Shama, kahan teri us at ko pa sake. Means, even the earth and the sky cannot find your limits. Even the earth and the sky cannot contain you. Mera dil hai wo ki jahan tu sama sake. It is my heart, the devotee is saying, where you can fully be. It is my heart where you can fully be known. Even the earth and sky cannot contain you, but my heart, it fully knows you. This is the heart of a melted person, the heart of a melted one. And that is a Bhagat. For example, look at Bhagat Ravidas ji. Jao hum bande moh paas, hum prem bandhan tum bandhe. Apne chutan ko jatan karo, hum chute tum aradhe. A Bhagat is so playful with God, it feels like, oh, you shouldn't have said that. But a Bhagat will say it in love. A Bhagat will say it. A Bhagat will even temporarily become angry. Not, you know, the type of anger you have towards someone you love, where you can be angry at them and still realize that they won't leave you. But you know, acquaintances, people that you're not really fully connected with, you can't be angry with them because there's always the fear that, you know, they're going to leave or you're going to separate. Yes, yes. So even this quality of being, or the way, was it Bhagat Kabir ji calls Vaheguru a thug? Or they say, why did you do this? Or they'll say something like that. It actually is showing they're so connected with God that even this conversation will not break them. You know those relationships where you can be angry at someone and you know it's not going to break, but you can't be angry with an acquaintance because you think it's going to break? That kind of thing. So Ravidas ji is saying, Jo hum bande mo paas, hey Vaheguru, you put me in this twirl, in this rope of attachment. Then you know what I did? Ravidas ji is saying, I put you in the attachment of my love. You attached me in this whole mo thing, this whole mo web, and I attached you with my love. I attached you to me with my love. And look what he says. So like playful. Apne chutan ko jatan karo. Hey God, you better figure out a way to escape, because I'm going to escape just by meditating on you. I'll escape from Mo by meditating on you, but you got to figure out a way to escape from my love, because I know you won't be able to do it. So this type of conversation is indicative of a melted heart, someone who has really a very fundamental, strong relationship with God. In Bhakti, it's the relationship with God that matters. So, finally, we're going to end. Nanak Gurmukh Sagar Pavan ki soji hoy. This particular line is referencing something. For those seeking, this is going to be helpful to you. There are certain levels of seeking, the certain ways of how seeking becomes manifest. For example, at a certain level, you're going to have a conversation with God, right? You, me, and you. You're going to move up a level, and then it's just going to be you, God. And then at another level, it's just going to be me. Not me, body, mind, but me as the Atma. Because now God is not separate. God has merged. The droplet and the ocean have become one. But then there's a fourth level, which is one of the most exalted levels, where there is not you and there is not me anymore. Tu bhi nahi, main bhi nahi, just being, just existing. No distinction of who is existing, who's talking about the existing, nothing. Just existing. And this is a state that you cannot write about. Because if you're going to write, you're going to have to call something Brahm, and you're going to have to call yourself something. So that's not going to end up working. This state where there's no you, there is no me, we just exist. This is a state that is not written about. It is a state that is experienced in samadhi where you just are. What is, who isn't, who's the bhagat, who's existing, who am I existing in? None of that. Not you, not me, just being. This is sagal pavan ki sochi hui. It's indicated in there, but you can't talk about this. This is also the state that many others have tried to talk about, and sometimes we've misunderstood what they've talked about. For example, Buddha. Buddha says there is no God and there is no Atma. What he's really saying, and he's saying there is merely Shunya. By the way, today's the last day. I think we do Gurumukh Pauriyan. Tomorrow we're going to start talking about, Shunya and so forth and so forth. He says there is merely an existing emptiness. Merely just existing. No you, no me, no God, no Atma, just is. This is that state, Sagalpavan ki sochi hui. This is also the state where Kabir says, Ek kaho to hai nahi, do kaho to gari, hai jaisa, taisa lakhe kaho Kabir vichari. You just need to experience it. That's what Kabir says. So this is the ultimate and final state. Along the way, you may come across difficulties, people slandering you, you may come across obstacles, but for somebody who is in love, who is naturally attracted to Satya, you will conquer it all. Just like Bhai Mati Das ji did, Bhai Sati Das ji did, Bhai Dayalnath ji did, Guru Arjan Dev ji did, Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib ji did, the Sahibzade did, Guru Gobind Singh ji did, the Guru Sahibans, everybody. And on another day, because we're out of time, and I apologize, we're over time, I'll talk about the allegory of Eros and Psyche, which is actually something that talks about overcoming obstacles, maybe another day. And so yeah, that's where we ended off today. Please forgive me for the mistakes that I've made. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I'll see you guys tomorrow.